Eruvin Daf Lamed Tes. Today's email comes to us from anonymous Talmud B'Simcha, and he says, I used to do YouTube, but I was doing it haphazardly. Sometimes I would miss, but the Zoom makes me feel like I'm more part of the Kfiyas and the Chevra. And then he goes on to say that my perfectionism and Jewish guilt, which I daven Hashem to help me make progress over, can paralyze my growth and success in learning, and I'm grateful for the progress in your direction. He goes on, and then finally he says, may we zoiche to learn a lot of Torah together, Be'ez Hashem, and thank you. Eruvin Daf Lamed Tes brings a brisa that says that a person is not permitted to go to his field and look over his field on Shabbos. Everybody knows that he's waiting for Shabbos to come out and he'll start working on the field. That's hachana. Same thing to go to the end of the city. Everybody knows that he's going there to go to the bathhouse after Shabbos. Also, but to prepare an Eruv, people might think that you're a Talmud Chacham thinking you're learning and you got lost in your thought. Or if a person is not a Talmud Chacham, he's an Amaret, perhaps he's looking for his donkey. So they're not going to be chayshish that you are meichen your Eruv. We learned that if a person made an Eruv, you have Yontiv and then Shabbos and Yontiv, he made it with his presence, biraglov, or with a loaf of bread, and the bread was eaten. For the second day, he makes the Eruv by being there, biraglov. Now, if he has the bread from the first day, he could use it again, as it says in the Mishnah. You could use the loaf of bread from the first day for the second day. Abai says it's not a raya from our Mishnah, because perhaps our Mishnah is not saying that you could only use the original bread. Perhaps the Mishnah is giving you a good advice. If you have the bread from the first day, this is how you make the Eruv. Says the Mishnah, and this is amazing that we're discussing this literally hours before Yom Adin, before Rosh Hashanah, a Mishnah in Masechet Eruvin talking about Rosh Hashanah. When we have 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, how do we view it? According to Rabbi Yehuda, they are considered two separate Kedushas. They're not 48 hours of continuous Kedusha, rather they're 2 days. One of them should have been a weekday, it was a suffix. And therefore, says Rabbi Yehuda, I can make an Eruv in any direction I want. I can make 2 Eruvim, one to the east and one to the west, and use one to the east, one to the west. I could do the second day an Eruv, the first day no Eruv. First day an Eruv, second day no Eruv. It's 2 separate days. And Chachamim, who the Gemara tells us is Rabbi Yossi, argue. With the same argument, Rabbi Yehuda says, since it's 2 Kedushas, it's 2 separate days, I could take Truma from my food. Now, typically, it's also to take Truma and Maasros and Yontiv and Shabbos. I take it on the first day of Rosh Hashanah and I make a stipulation. I say at night, if today is a weekday, it should be Chal. If it's Rosh Hashanah, then I don't want to make it Chal. What I said is Shtusim v'Havolah. The following day says the same thing. If the second day is Yontiv, what I'm saying is nothing, but what I said yesterday should be Chal, and therefore I'm going to eat it today. And if today is a weekday, so I'm allowed to take Truma and Maasros, and my mother Shach eat it on the second day. Rabbi Yossi argues, it's one long dusha, 48 hours. And finally, the same idea when it comes to an egg laid on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, you may eat it on the second day, because min manav shach, either the second day is a weekday, so I could eat an egg that was laid on the first day, and if the second day is Rosh Hashanah and the first day was a weekday, so I'm allowed to eat an egg that was laid on a weekday. And Rabbi Yossi argues because it's one long dusha. Rabbi Yossi ben Hirkinus, I'm going to see a lot more of it tomorrow, says that the Chazan must mention Rosh Chodesh on Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Chodesh. And he says, however, he has to make a stipulation. And he has to say, if today the first day of Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Chodesh, great. And if not, it's tomorrow, then what I'm saying is not important. And the second day he says the same thing, but in reverse. And Chachamim argue. Chachamim that we had the other day, who argue Rebbe Lezer and say that it's usher to make 2 Eruvim if you have back-to-back Shabbos Yontiv and Yontiv Shabbos. You can't make 2 Eruvim go on Shabbos to one direction and Yontiv the other direction. In Rosh Hashanah they agree that you can, because of this idea that Rosh Hashanah, one of the days of Rosh Hashanah, is completely a weekday. So why is it that we say that it's Rosh Hashanah? Because even in Eretz Yisrael, Rosh Hashanah is the only Yontif that is Rosh Chodesh. And the concern is that people won't know that the Edom came to Bezdin and that they decided that today's Yontif, and they'll be over, they'll be working the fields, etc. Therefore they said, let's make the 30th day of the month Yontif no matter what. And obviously, even the 31st day, which is the first of Tishrei, should also be Yontiv Mesafik. The Rashi brings that in the Beis Hamikdash they would say the Shir Shel Yom of the weekday in the morning, and if they already said Shir Shel Yom of the weekday in the afternoon, the Edom can no longer, on the 30th day of Elul, they can no longer come and testify that they saw the moon. Yet, we have to treat the day as Yontiv, says Rabbi Yossi. You see from here the concept of Kedusha Achas, it goes from the first day through the second day, and Chacham say no. It's only that the following year people shouldn't be mizalzel, they shouldn't say that the first day you're allowed to do malacha. Look, we were doing malacha, so therefore they made a gzeira that even on the first day you shouldn't do malacha even when the Eidim didn't show up. The Brisa brings the Mishnah that you make the Meiser B'tnai. On the first day, you stipulate that if today's Rosh Hashanah, I'm not taking Meiser, but if today's a weekday, I'm taking Meiser. And Rabbi Yossi says that it's Aser because it's one Kedusha. The Brisa brings these words, V'chein haya Aser, V'beis Yom Tovim shel Golios. Golios is referring to the other Yom Tovim, Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot, 2-day Yom Tovim in Chutz La'aretz. And the Gemara understands that Rabbi Yossi considers the 2 days of Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuos also as one Kedusha. The Gemara tells us that there was once a deer that was trapped by Goyim on the first day of Yom Tov, and they shechted on the second day of Yom Tov. Rav Nachman and Rav Chizda ate from it because they hold Beis Kedushos. This is Yom Tov in Chutz La'aretz. 2 Kedushas. Therefore, yes, they trapped it on a day, but even if you have to wait enough time that it takes to trap, it's already 24 hours later, you're allowed to eat it. Rav Sheshus refused to eat it. He held it's one Kedusha. And he says, look, Rabbi Yossi says it's one Kedusha, even in Chutz La'aretz. Says Rava, perhaps Rabbi Yossi wasn't talking about regular Yom Tov. Perhaps Rabbi Yossi was talking about Rosh Hashanah. So the Gemara says, but then why does it say Gali Yos? It should say Goyla. So he explains, it means that Rabbi Yossi is Mekel on the 2 days of Galius, like Chachamim are Mekel on Rosh Hashanah. Just like Chachamim say Rosh Hashanah, it's 2 Kedushas. So in Chutz La'aretz, by Yom Tov, it's like 2 Kedushas. The Gemara says an amazing thing. We had this in the beginning of the Sech on a different topic, but the same people. Rav Sheshus asked, Rabbi Bar Shmuel, over there is also Rabbi Shmuel, what did you hear about the halacha of 2 Kedushas? And he said, Rabbi Yossi admits that in Chutz La'aretz, regular Yom Tovim are 2 Kedushas, not one like you thought. Rav Sheshus was very embarrassed. He said, please don't tell anybody that you told this to me. Let me tell them by myself. In other words, he made a mistake by not eating the venison on the second day, like Rav Nachman and Rav Chizda. Ameimer says, no, what happened is a different story. The tzvi, the deer, wasn't trapped on the first day. According to everybody, that would be mutter on the second day, because it's 2 Kedushas. What happened was that they brought in the venison from outside of the Tchum. Rav Nachman and Rav Chizda hold that if you bring in venison for Ruvain, Shimon is allowed to eat it. And Rav Sheshus held, since it was brought in for the Reish Galus is in charge of Klal Yisrael, that's as if it was brought in for all of the Jews. And this, that we said before, that Rav Sheshus met up with Rav Bar Shmuel, and Rav Shmuel told him, you made a mistake. That story never happened. Have a wonderful day.